Добрый день, уважаемые дамы и господа.
Good day, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to greet all of you here at our second day, and now we are going to talk about FinTech, transforming the capital market, trends and perspective. I would like to express our gratitude to our partners, Freedom Brokers, Kazminerals, ITS for their continuing support and for the development of our forum, AFD. So today we see FinTech is going beyond additional instrument, and now it's the main power in transforming the capital market and financial sphere. We see the changes, and we see that issuers attract money with it, and we see the interaction between participants in this market. Our goal today is to discuss how FinTech leads this transformation from digital platforms that expand access to trade and investments up to innovative solutions in payment and up to strategic directions. All together, we'll speak about trends, and today we have a very wonderful group of our speakers. Let me introduce them. We have Sanzhar Zhamalov, who is a Mastercard General Director, and he is one of the key experts in FinTech and digital payment who actively promotes the development of this ecosystem in the region. We also have Rostislav Konyashkin, who is the Vice Minister of Digital Development, Innovations and Aerospace Industry. He is leading development of ecosystem and introduction of advanced technologies. Also, we have with us Sergey Lukyanov, who is the chairman of the management board Freedom Holding Corporation, and he is responsible for representing this company at the global. And by the way, Freedom Finance Global yesterday received the specific award Tech for Finance Excellence. I also would like to present Beksulthanhoza Anuarov, CEO and co-founder Paidax, and Beksulthanhoza. He is one of the leader in technologies businesses. He is in the Forbes list 30 under 30. We would like to congratulate him on this event. And I think the first question would be addressed to Sergey. Sergey, you as representative of Freedom Holding, how you see FinTech in helping you to attract new clients? Good day. Thank you for inviting me, and let me express my opinion and my vision of our company. I asked my colleagues about the definition of FinTech, how people understand FinTech, and then I put everything in AI, and I received the image of FinTech. And I received that this would be a typical IT specialist who is sitting in coffee shop and who is working drinking coffee. So this was a typical image, but it's not like this, right? IT specialists, they take all this fame from visionaries. FinTech has always been existed. FinTech was even before IT specialists appeared, let's say it this way. For example, recently I visited Chengdu in China. This city is not only the capital of the spicy cuisine in that area, but this is also the location where the traditional trade was there. About 20 million people live there, like the whole population of Kazakhstan, and trade there was always in thrive. And Chengdu is known also for the paper production. And so it was a 9th century traders, merchants that would bring goods, would exchange it for gold, for silver. And these traders are periodically robbed, because we understand that such robberies, as well as FinTech, existed for a long time. And what visionaries made? Visionaries just made up paper and made, let's say, money out of it. and money could be, hidden. No need to bring with you kilos of gold. So at that time, in 9th century, it was fintech revolution. Of that time, it was cool, and regulator supported it to the biggest extent. And there was a first plant launched on production of paper money. And actually, I can say that regulator does everything. Let's go now to Sparta. Liturg was a famous figure there. Now, he had a different policy. He decided to take gold and silver from all Spartan people, and actually they even had the specific article. It was a criminal liability to store gold and silver, and instead of this, Liturg, or let's say the state, would give money that were presented as in the way of the metal bar like 1 meter long, 1 kilo of weight. And can you imagine, so that to do trade in Spartan time, you had to do this let's say pile of metal bars, and you would exchange it for commodity. And it was also the policy of the state. So the idea was to have equality, so to have equal attitude to wealth, to trade. And actually the task was to eliminate all these specific things, but to bring up people, or to make these people as warriors. The idea was to isolate Sparta from the trade with neighboring countries, and actually it was implemented. They succeeded in it. FinTech and state regulations, they always go hand in hand. No, not even this way, but let's say the following way. There is a river, let's say the full-fledged river, and there is a regulator that would put a dam on this river. The water flow would be closed, and then we see what is happening next. When the water is going up, the water would find one direction, would start to flow in the other direction. And now regulator thinks what to do. Shall we stop it, or shall we allow this water to flow further? This is always a political decision. One is connected to the other. Now, if we move to the securities market, we can think about the Nasdaq crisis, paper crisis. After the Second World War, it was in 1960s, all exchanges of the world, they had a high uprise, but all transactions were made in paper. I mean, after each of the transaction, you had to sign the certificate, you had to send them, and as the number of transactions was 1 million transactions per day, this paralyzed the activities of exchanges. Brokers, firm were like archive, and there were piles of paper certificates up to the ceiling, and industry started to lose money. How? Because the settlements on these transactions were delayed, and the exchanges would stop the trades, and once a week there was no trading at all because they had to do all this settlement work. So, during the World War, they didn't stop their work, but here, because it was this paper crisis, they stopped the work for a day. And then there was a term, national repository, and e-trade was appeared. And regulator also start thinking, what if all these electronic record would disappear? And regulators say that there will be no times worse than this time. So, and this came to all new technologies. What about competitors? London Exchange. London Exchange was lagging behind for 15 years, let's say. New York Exchange did this transition to electronic trading, but London was behind. And again, we see that the center of financial world moved to, let's say, America. FinTech is the thing that you have to implement, otherwise you'll lose. No other way. Now, let's talk about Kazakhstan. What is happening here? We see the young population. We have young population in the country. We have 20 million people. and penetration of the mobile internet or internet banking is more than 90%. Kazakhstan actually takes the first world on all these parameters if we consider CIS or post-Soviet countries. We have all the tools. Let's now speak about political support. Again, we discuss FinTech here. We have the government at the level of the head of state and prime ministers. We have all these initiatives. For example, Digital Kazakhstan. We always have such events like Digital Bridge, the management of all different countries come here, and we can work here. I think these are very good conditions, and we will never be bored in this sphere. We will develop it. Thank you. Thank you so much for such interesting introduction. I think that part of audience that didn't understand FinTech, now they start to get it better. I would agree with your thesis, and it was said before, yesterday, different forums. Right now, all professions, they lost their linear element. Before, it was clear you have to study, then you work, and so on. But now, it's a mix. You have to work, you have to study at the same time. For example, the marketing specialist, he performs his duties, but at the same time, he should be trained. The same is about IT specialists. These are people who have to have different qualification and upgrading their skills all the time. I know that you are leading brokers' directions in your company. Could you tell more about perspective of trends in this area? Yes, with great pleasure. If we have time, I'll be able to do everything. So let's get back to visionary element and to our vision in general. The vision is quite simple. It's not a secret. We all see that brokers company all over the world, including AIFC, have the unified brokers account. And the client using this account could buy Kazakhstani securities, American securities, European, Chinese. We have it right now, and we see it in the work of many brokers. The trade would not be done 5 or 6 hours. The trade is almost 13 hours, and now we are moving to 24 hours trade, because the trend that we see now is when we unite digital assets and traditional assets in one account. Digital would be traded 24/7, and of course trading with securities would be like this, and in some time, or even now, we see such services, 24/7 services. You can trade with your securities and digital assets using one account. Then we speak about brokers' cards. So this makes finances very accessible. You can use your investment account and pay for the services in restaurant. I mean, you can pay in real time in shops and so on. No need to have this long processing period. So it would be fast and 24/7. This is popular now. And other services, for example, let's speak about betting system. Let's speak about American election. You know the race about this, and you could bet for this or the other event who, for example, would win at this election. And forecasting of these systems gave positive results. For example, we could do this forecasting or prediction of the specific rate. I think we will have some tools like this in the nearest time, in the nearest future, and people will use it. Well, it's very interesting, and now I see that there are many insurance products. For example, we can speak about insurance against weather conditions in agriculture. Well, actually, it's already for more than several years we have this initiative. You know, when I saw it, because we did this specific project with tokenization, and I saw some tools or products like this, and it was really interesting for me. Thank you so much. You know, when we say FinTech, and Sergey has just explained us. I mean, of course, the state policy is very important. These policies have to promote all these things. So now we have digital ID, we have QR. Now, Rostislav, I want to hear you. What steps is government taking to accelerate the digitalization of Kazakhstan capital markets, and how do you see FinTech role? Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Rostislav Konyashkin. I am Vice Minister of Digital Development. I am responsible, as Talgat has just mentioned, for e-gov, for electronic government, and uh, I am now responsible for cooperation with banks, because now electronic government and banking fintech ecosystem could not be seen without this mutual penetration, mutual integration, without digital tools. And in 2020, when we have made a decision, we call it decision on demonopolization of government, e-government, we thought how we can increase the number of services that could be online. Of course, at that time, we already had mobile application, eGov Mobile. It worked, I would say, worse than it is working now, and I hope you would confirm that now it works much better. And at that period of time, people would not use it pretty often. But if a person wants to receive this or that service, a person might go to this once a month or twice a month. At that time, I mean, again, fintech penetration was high, and the level of cashless payments. I mean, at that time, and even well, actually, now I know that people here would have 1, 2, or 3 banking applications that you would use, and you would use it maybe 5 times per day. You would do QR payment, you would replenish your balance. And at that time, we started to think what would be a comfortable way for a person to receive online services. And then we decided to give some parts of these state services to banks. First process was quite slow, but then step by step, banking community got used to working with e-government, and now all these steps could be done much better. Now more than 25 million of state services per year are provided by banking mobile applications. There are banks that have about 45, 50 state services in their mobile application. Digital documents, now I know that everybody is using it through banking applications. And at that period of time, we saw the increased level of application or using of digital documents again. Frankly speaking, this is due to giving this opportunity to our banks. And we always promote collaboration, cooperation. We support fintech with our state infrastructure, and now we have about 2,000 integration services at the governmental gateway. And I mean, we can provide access to all these processes to many companies, and now banks represent the biggest parts. There are gateways of electronic government, so it's a specific gateway through which all integration in our country goes. So business integration, state business integration, more than 60% of all transactions, these are transactions with private, and out of this 90% would be second-tier bank. Of course, we still have the room to develop digital documents. It's just about this service, but then bank would add specific value with this. For example, now we have digital mortgage. You can do it just per one day. Our colleagues did a very good work, and this case is a cool case. We have partners from UN and from some other, and when we say that you could have digital mortgage and you could do it per day, everybody is surprised. And then when we say that you can sell your car using banking application, it could be done within 15 minutes, and again, it would be about money transfer, and at the same time it's registration at all state bases. People are surprised by this fact. Now we are going even further. We actively interact with National Bank, National Payment Corporation, and we started to digitize state support measures. You know, there are state support measures of monetary form when money would be credited to the account of a person. You know, some targeted assistance, some other benefits. So we've just sent money and we just check that this is a state support measure that this person is entitled to receive. Now, we are also working with non-monetary state support measure. For example, there is one private, you know, supplier who could provide some services for the citizen. And now with our bank, we are implementing smart contract and digital tenge. So it would be the act of work performed based on the transactions, and it would include all necessary documents, and by these measures, the state budget would be given to those citizens who are in need for these benefits, and it would be a comfortable and convenient process. Well, you know, I have a dream to come to property tokenization or all assets tokenization, or maybe in future we will do eGov as a full-fledged participant of full fintech sector and fintech market. Maybe we will be able to do it, but for the moment we are actively support our banks in their development. We help them to create the most developed products in the world. That's my opinion, and I want to thank our fintech for being such a cool fintech, because fintech help us to promote our image as a digital country, and the head of state also speaks about it. And now we have also AI, we have chatbot interactions, we have different AI assistants, and all of this would simplify the processes and would help us to expand not only presence of state services, but also I think we would eliminate this border between electronic government and fintech. Thank you, Rostislav. Now you have said, in the end, two words. You said tokenization and eGov, and I remember a team. We worked with them with property tokenization. They also have a dream. They say we want to go to eGov, and I want to see that I have 35 square centimeters in Botanical Garden or in Mangalek Street, so that the plan of my apartment would be like this. This is the number of square meters. This is my wallet, and I mean, it would be very good, and I'm happy to hear that you have the same dream.
And I would like to sincerely express gratitude to the Ministry of Digitalization. Probably most of you remember how during the COVID times we were using Ashik and we had to learn how to use QR, and this is the world that we're living nowadays. And everyone had started downloading all of the applications, but we got used to QR. We know how to use it nowadays, but when our friends from other countries were coming over to Kazakhstan, they were actually in shock. How do you use those kind of applications as easy as you do? I think this is the transformation that our Ministry of Digitalization had done. This is the brief bridge to another speaker. There are many payment systems that are local, famous, not famous. My first payment, my salary card was on the Mastercard. And Sanzhar, I would like to ask you, how do you transform your business, taking into consideration the technology development? Good morning, dear friends and colleagues. I would like to express gratitude to authors, to organizers, and for the opportunity to be here because this kind of collaborations help all of us to develop, to share knowledge. You know, there are many ideas that I have heard, and with majority of the ideas I totally agree. And you know that there's a joke that many fintechs would like to become bank and many banks would like to be named as fintechs. This is the essence what is happening in the market. If we talk about the example of the Mastercard, Mastercard is global fintech company that has a history of 50 years. It's not a big history, to be really honest, but even we try to transform our business because despite the fact that we have experience in history, 20 years ago, we understood that we have to change. We shall not be just a payment system. We need to go further. And 20 years ago, we became technological service company that many do not know. And we have a big platform in this regards. We work in service, not only with banks, but also with government structures, with the SMEs, with different organizations. We help to develop strategies of development. We help to develop new businesses. And the idea that our goal is to become and be a partner in digital transformation of the economy overall. It is something that we offer. We offer analytics. We offer digital solutions. We offer consultations. Not everybody knows that our consulting in the share of the Mastercard business is 40% of our income. This is quite a lot. We know that 60% is the core business, is the processing the payments and transactions, but income, 40% of our income is comprised by consulting. And according to our assessment, the market of consulting is more than $500 billion that we try to actively integrate, and we earn more than 11 billion in consulting. And investment into innovations is not expenditures. It is our assets that we monetize further. So we, of course, we understand that payment market is quite huge, but the innovation solutions that we implement actually show that there's a room for development and improvement, and many fintech has a number of advantages. Our fintech, for example, has a number of advantages. Is the big database that we're working with. We process more than 160 billion transactions a year. The transactions, payments of legal entities and the individuals is the vast data that we use for decision making. And we have a huge point of sales where we have our terminals. We know what kind of transactions are ongoing. We have this kind of points, like more than 150 million points where we could identify where the sales are going. And we have a global team. When we talk about areas that we are working with, it's a lot. For example, IT security has more than 3,000 colleagues who deal with IT security. It's not only the fraud protection, but also other measures. And we know that every single person who has plastic payment card, you need to be sure in safety of using this payment system. And of course, our infrastructure is always under attack, and our asset is to be able to withstand and protect yourself from this kind of attacks. And many corporations, including in Kazakhstan, use IT solutions in Kazakhstan, and it helps us to develop market and build infrastructure. So regarding your question, how does it influence onto the market of the capital market? We know that fintech nowadays bring not only technologies to the market, they change the perspective through capitalization, through trust of the investors to the market. And what is happening is the small revolution, but it's always been ongoing because new players, every single time new player is coming to the playground, the rules are changed. So we started changing technology activity into consulting activity, and after transforming and developing our company, net worth is more than $500 billion, and this is 20 years of journey is noticeable, and this is how we are trying to change the market. Well, if we elaborate on Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan is a huge hub for us that we are building. I agree with Sergey. Why the emphasis had been done to Kazakhstan, because the high penetration of the internet and vast majority of the population is young people, and you can test and pilot a lot of things. And through collaboration with AIFC and National Bank, we could launch the crypto payment card, and we also work with Eurasian Bank, and we started working with the stable coins. And Kazakhstan creates huge platform for testing new types of payment. So this is the core business, but at the same time, more than half of Kazakhstani employees are busy with consulting, because huge number of projects are developed in order to help to build digital infrastructure and system. It's a huge number, to be really honest, and team had just started growing, and the potential is huge. It hadn't been realized yet. The young generation in Kazakhstan is already elevating to next level. And traditional startup that when I was working with conventional banks, it was less startups rather than now, and they show their turnover. Where FinTech startups, for example, is not actually worse than banks nowadays. And we see that banks nowadays will remain and lead, because most of the startups say that the FinTechs will kill the banks, but then other ones say that we are dreaming to become a bank. So we will always participate in these processes. Thank you so much, Sanzhar. Sanzhar, you had actually spotted many ideas, and I'm very pleased to hear when one segment says that investment into IT is the creation of the assets. It's not just expenditures. And regarding the analysis, and we observed that most businesses, whenever they enter the market, they look at the positions and categories of expenditure of people. And I've seen it in tourism sector as well. There was a categorization of all of the expenditures. This is very good business insight in order to invest into niche sectors. I understand why you have 40% of the income and why is it done by consulting. Well, you've already mentioned the innovations in crypto cards. This is something that actually brings me to another speaker. Yesterday, we had elaborated a lot into regarding tokenization. We talked about the wheat and real estate now. Financial sector is talking about crypto cards. Beksulthanhoza, I would like to ask you, as the representative of this market, what capital market transformation trends will be most relevant in the near future, and what projects do you would like to share with us? Thank you so much for this opportunity. You know, when we were creating Paidax, we position ourselves as the FinTech. We're not brokers, but we give grant and access to the shares and stocks. And it is impossible, to be really honest, to compete as just pure blocker, for example, with freedom. And the world is coming to the broker commissions becoming ceasing to existence and becoming zero. So we decided to have three activities. One is the broker, another one is the digital assets, and third one is the tokenization of the assets. What is the fintech, and why do we call ourselves fintech company? We have 10 people, 10 employees, and most of them are technicians and technical specialists, and we have even tokenized whole our processes, and are not broker company because through Paidax you don't just invest. You work with regulator and you can invest into digital assets. We actually complement crypto stocks. We don't compete with them. We work with them, and crypto fiat license channel, which is very important for any kind of second-tier banks. You can invest and use this technology. Another one, we are going to sign first asset. We are working with the regulator, with AFCA and with National Bank. Just imagine, through the platform, you could invest into the stocks, you could invest into cryptocurrency, and you would like to invest into the share of the SME. It could be the coffee shop that you visit often. You can purchase share of the mall, for example, you visit a lot, and we have a first use case, tokenization of the mall, and second one is the share of the small and medium enterprise. So it's the coffee shop that generate the positive cash flow. So again, it's a huge work that had been done together with the Ministry of Digitalization, and we try to understand where exactly we're going to scale up. We've already developed the roadmap on Central Asia, and we understand that here it is an important role actually goes to the regulator. I'm grateful that we have AFCA and AIFC in Kazakhstan, and because you can receive all of the integrations online and you can receive all of the digital documents. Just remember, 10 years ago, whenever if you wanted to open a broker's account, you had to visit so many places and so many papers had to be prepared. As a fintech, we don't say that we are killers of the bank. We need to work with banks. We need to work with broker companies because they have an access to the market. We work with Freedom ATS. I see Jeffrey, for example, from Philips Securities, who is represented in more than 10 countries and who is managing billions and billions of sums. And how the Robinhood, for example, was developing. He was developing because of the access of the to the market, and they had done the revolution, removing the commission fee. I guess automatization of the internal processes will bring to the scaling up. Thank you so much, Beksulthanhoza, for your insights. Indeed, several speakers have already elaborated on fintech companies and banks becoming closer and collaborating. But if technical companies have a lot of users, most of the times they solve some of the pains, let's say, take away some of the pains. But when it comes to the bank, it's the applications that we are always represented in. So I was actually happy to hear the use case of the buying the share of the mall. This is quite a crowdfunding project, I guess, because you are selling the share, and this is how you attract financial means for the scaling up. And what about tokenization? How you could comment that on this phase in B2B loaning? We don't really go into this sphere because you can invest into different types of the assets. Regarding the mall, how you can receive an access to the share of the small and medium enterprises, they shall be listed in the stock. It could be done through the tokenization. Through tokenization, you can actually have an access, and you don't need to be listed on a stock. So it's pre-IPO history, I shall say. Thank you. Okay. Well, I need to wrap up. I have a general question. So when I started learning the neo-banking, how is it transformed, how the banking system is changing, and how the FinTech had emerged, and I heard that many hybrid instruments of attracting money. What client want essentially from bank? To have an access for financing, for an idea, or invest their own money. So this is the essential needs. If you could tell me the vision of yours and maybe some advices briefly, if you, I would be glad to hear you. Well, we had a project tokenization of wheat because the coffee beans, the tokenization of the coffee beans, because coffee beans were giving a lot of income, but how ordinary user could earn on this income? It's the contracts on futures, and futures is not really granted by all of the brokers, and it will identify the prices that will be identified later on, and you need to earn on current moment on price, and this tokenization actually will solve this issue. You can have an access for an income which is not really accessible for the ordinary users, and tokenization plays a vital role in it.
I can actually add here about the flows of finances between banks and brokers. This is something that would complement each other. You know, broker's card exists for a long time, and you can keep your salaries there in broker's card, and your savings would be on this broker's account. You could invest them, and at the same time, you could pay in shops, in cafes, and it has already been working, and people do it. It's a pretty interesting thing, and it is really convenient. This is the FinTech. Speaking about securitization, we are also doing it. Now we are thinking of tokenization. Tokenization is a very interesting thing that would allow us to bring to direct this liquidity between the fiat world and digital world. And you know, now traditional investors, they all in brokers business at the security market, and as a rule, this there is no such thing that all investors of traditional assets, they are investors of crypto assets as well. Sometimes we see the intersections between these two different words. It's, you know, it's like the logo of Mastercard. You see this intersection, but no, it's not a full, let's say, compliance or full thing that would be onto each other. You know, there is money in this sector, in the other sector, and it would be good to have this bridge between these two parts, and it would allow investors from crypto world to invest into traditional world. And we are also working. We start our first project on securitization. Unfortunately, in Kazakhstan, the regulatory framework is not that friendly to securitization, and we've launched, I think it's the 7th transaction over all this existence. I mean, and what we do? We take pools of loans from microcredit financial organizations, and we make securitization. We sell it to our clients. I mean, we allow our clients to receive the yield that would be in spread, that would be spread between placement. You know, when you take loan, you pay like 36 or 40%. But when you attract money at the stock market, you pay 20%. And so here we see the difference between 20 and 36, 40%. In different banks, it's differently. And we allow our banks to participate in to participate in receiving additional benefits. And so there are different tools. I also would like to say that Freedom, one of the first banks and only that started its own currency, Freedom Coin, I'm pretty sure you all use it. You know, for the first time when I looked at it, the concept is very interesting. I think it is the first, let's say, bird there, first swallow, yeah, how digital money would integrate in classical banking application. Thank you. If there are no other opinion, let me briefly share the initiatives that we were discussing during these 2 days when we speak about assets tokenization. I have heard the teams, and teams tell me about trend. You know, if you have an asset, it doesn't matter if it's property or wheat or something else, and if you can keep it and store it and save it, and it will increase its value, there is a point to tokenize it. Especially if this asset would bring some income like commercial property or apartment, or maybe from season to season the price would go up for this asset, like for some commodities, for example, the grain, then you can attract money in the moment. Speaking about wheat, the business idea is simple. Agricultural farmer, by collecting harvest with its grain, cannot take all money. The person have to go to bank, do all this process, but if this person would have token, the person would sell this token to other people, would attract this money, spend this money, and then when it would be the high price for wheat, he would sell it, would have more money, and would give part of this money to these people for the token. And I mean, it will be this market story. It's just one of the examples, and I think that this would be the trend. This is the trend in fintech. It is already everywhere in the Western world and in the Eastern companies. There are many companies from Singapore, Hong Kong, China. The first license for stable coin given by AIFC belongs to Hong Kong companies that developed this topic. Well, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for the time dedicated to our discussion. Today, we again got confirmation that fintech is one of the key transformation factor of our banks and capital markets. Modern technologies have new opportunities. And yesterday we've launched our own museum, and we call it Trust Museum because in the financial world, trust is a #1 pillar stone. FinTech would not replace traditional market mechanism. FinTech would complement all mechanisms and would create the basis for the stable growth. Thank you so much for your participation, and I want to thank speakers for having our discussion today. The session is over.